Guys, get dressed with me here. I'm going to an engagement party and I decided that I should do a chit chat video whilst I get dressed. I got this really lovely top from a designer in Lagos called Ayaba, and I'll leave all her details in the description below. So Lagos designers have been pretty impressive, I must say. I'm familiar with sort of Ayaba's work, so yeah, you guys can go and check her out. I believe I'll be buying some of her pieces as late, probably when I go back. So yeah, because she does ready to wear and she does some custom made collections as well. So I'm going to wear this to the engagement party. But yeah, I've been meaning to talk about a particular issue, which I've been sort of conversing with my friends recently and my flatmate as well. And it's kind of the difference between how you're sort of perceived and approached as pretty much a black woman in the UK, or let's say in the Western world, so to speak. I don't know if it's the same for the US, but my flatmate, my friend, and also my friend, she grew up here. She's never sort of been to Nigeria before, unlike me, where majority of my teenage years, my upbringing was in Nigeria. My perception on sort of the early stages of a relationship and my sort of, I'd say, like what I was exposed to in terms of meeting the opposite sex and knowing and growing from there, and how I'm perceived basically, and how I'm received as well. So quite a lot of difference, because both of us were at the stage of our lives where we're single women, and we do get approached quite often on the streets of London, but we would also notice that it's with a certain caliber of men, not to sound sort of judgmental or anything, but this, you know. And the approach personally in London for me, or the approach in the UK, I'd say English men are definitely very different to Nigerian men. I think just growing up in Nigeria and being exposed to how men treat women, I suppose like they're still quite traditional, but I think women are more idolized and worshipped back home than they are here. I feel like with most men here, you're constantly getting into an argument about roles, and when it doesn't even call for it, it's almost like they get defensive about things like that. And it's not necessarily well, being defensive, I think it's still quite immature in that sense. And in fact, I'll tell you about an experience that we had that we had recently. So we were 4 girls and we went to a high-end club in London because a mate of mine knew someone and blah blah blah. So the very interesting experience, and I'm not going to name the club here because I'm not about to. Maybe I should. And you were judged on the basis of how you looked, just by the entrance. So the whole concept of the club was, well, we attract high net worth men, so we need to only allow girls that look a certain way so that the men approach the girls and want to spend their money in the bar, and so they end up buying drinks because the women, or the caliber of women, or the way the women look, are worth spending their money on. Now, I thought that was completely bizarre. Like, this is ridiculous. And I'm sure it's done everywhere, and it was also a choice for us to go there. I didn't know that that was the whole persona of the club, but there were hardly any black women there present in the club. I'd say about a handful, and it was pretty much my friends and I, so 3 of us, and we had another friend with us, and she was, I'd say, biracial, mixed at least, but more on the Caucasian side. So yeah. But what was very interesting is throughout that night we didn't, and there are quite a lot of black men in that club, so and the music was generally R&B, hip hop. So yeah, and what's interesting with the whole experience was, again, we never got approached when we're sort of used to getting approached usually when we go out. And the vibe of the club was just really odd. It was really odd in the sense that you'd see quite a lot of just men with a black man with just approaching white women, and we would just get dismissed, so to speak. But it was quite not that we were there looking, we were just there dancing, like having a good time. And what's really interesting, like we all felt that vibe, but I never had that experience growing up. And when my friends used to talk about it, I felt I'm like, okay, maybe you guys are exaggerating, or maybe you guys are too sensitive. But then I felt it firsthand. And I remember we left the club, and this was when it was over. We were about to go home, about to get our taxi, and we were all just walking in a row in a strip, like just walking, trying to get in our cab. And then this black guy, so I think him and his mate, was like, hey, like, and so we turned back, obviously knowing that he was talking to us, and we're like, hey, you know, like, because we were all happy, excited. And he was like, no, to us three. And he was like, the one in the clear heels, which was our friend who was my friend who's biracial. And we just, it was like, whoa, it was like our last straw for the night. It was like, first we were humiliated at the door by being assessed by the way we looked, and then this just topped it all. Like, it topped it for us. I was like, wow, this is real. And you know, we engaged in stories, and I couldn't believe the sort of upbringing my friends had in relation to just the colorism that goes on between sort of black on black, and this misconception with black men that black women are a certain way, or hence why they don't want to approach them, or they don't know how to approach a black woman or something. And I just find that ridiculous. Is that a good enough excuse? You guys tell me. I don't know. Let me know if you guys have had that experience. Maybe I'm just used to African men, Nigerian men, just knowing how to say all the right things and being decent and approachable. I just feel like delivery is very important in forming any relationship, even if it's just a hi and hello. And this whole misconception about race, like I find that strange. Like, and I'm just noticing that now because I moved to England. I mean, I was born in England, and I moved to England, and I moved back to Nigeria. And I'm a third generation British. So my grandparents lived here. Then my dad grew up here, born here, grew up here, and then he went to sort of pursue the African dream, so to speak, and so moved to Lagos. And so, I mean, hence the upbringing. I still have a tight connection with back home. So again, the early stages of me knowing about boys and going into relationships were all formed in Lagos, where I felt women were treated like queens. And then 2 years after that, I met my ex, Ellis, and we were together for 7 years. So I've never really kind of experienced the market, so to speak, and how this whole dating world is. But I'm like really shocked by the things I'm seeing now, and it's really, really insane. And it's just really sad because opportunities are being missed. And I get it. I get it as to why certain women don't feel, almost like black women that have lived here all their lives, or in a place where it's mainly white dominated, will feel very insecure if their own race isn't even giving them the time of the day, or do you know what I mean? Just I find that very interesting. But let me know your thoughts. I think it'll be nice to sort of spark a conversation about this issue. But yeah, in the meantime, I will catch you guys later. And I am currently editing my next video, which would be out hopefully next week. So I'll see you guys later, and take care. Bye.